Hi everyone, my name is mjessicaaa. My student number is 152100055. In today's presentation, I'm going to talk about the influence of culture on educational settings. Before we dig more about the topic today, let me tell you first about the ultimate relationship between culture and education. Basically, culture is always linked to education. People raised in diverse culture are educated in accordance with the perceived needs of their cultures. Well, here's the logic. People may be biologically alike, but they most likely will grow up to be socially different because of their cultural experiences. First thing first, classroom is equal to intercultural setting, and here's why. First, we can gain valuable insight into a culture by studying its perceptions of and approaches to education. Second, in most instances, the traditional goals of schools have been bound to universalistic intellectual or social functions associated with the dominant society. Third, we should about the influence culture has on education is to become aware of the informal knowledge of a culture. Second, cultural tendencies is a ways to children participation, and there are two main perspectives. The first perspective is the individualist perspective, where students work independently, engage themselves in discussions and arguments to learn to think critically. Second, the collectivist perspective, where students work with peers and provide assistance when it's required. The behavioral traits of the students are that they are quiet and respectful in the class in order to learn efficiently. Let's think more about the characteristics of the individualist perspective. First, students work independently, engage themselves in discussion and arguments to learn to think critically. Second, the teachers manage the school environment in an indirect manner, and self control of student is encouraged. And the third, parents are integral to children's academic progress and are involved actively. Now is about the collectivist perspective. The first characteristic is that teachers do render the primary role in the management of the school. And the second, the school and the behavior conduct of students are influenced by their peers and parents yield to the teacher's expertise in order to provide academic instruction and guidance. Now let's take a look to the comparison between the individualist and the collectivist perspectives. First, the individualist perspective. Schools with this culture focusing more on the problem solving and having a deeper understanding of the subject matter wants the student to be able to apply their knowledge to real life problems. Second, welcomes the student in a more personalized approach which allows students to progress at different paces based on their abilities. Third, view school as an opportunity to cultivate student creativity, problem solving, and knowledge application skills. Value the cultivation of creativity, cooperation, and leadership skills as well as academics, resulting in students actively participating in sports and clubs. And the last, education is viewed less as a challenge and more as something to be celebrated, which helps to develop a lifelong love of learning in students. Second is the collectivist perspectives. School with this culture most likely focuses on memorization and other taught styles of learning. Criticisms, discussions, and tangential questions are often discouraged as the teacher is the sole source of knowledge and students are to only listen while dutifully taking notes and studying quietly. Second, lead the student to greater knowledge in reinforcing strictness and precision. Students often face an incredible amount of pressure to perform well on the exams. Third, views school as the foundation for student education, and education is viewed as a series of tasks to overcome, often with as much as efficiency as possible, and a focus on the challenge rather than the journey. And the last, the pressure of studying can result in resilience in some students. Those who struggle to reach these standards can have some serious mental health problems. Now, let's take a look at some examples. In American classroom settings, students are expected to be on time for every class or appointments with their instructors. And students also encouraged to ask questions and express their opinions in the classrooms. Questions posed by students often lead to vibrant discussion that help everyone understand about the subject matter. And for the Asian nations classroom settings, it is not unusual to observe that Asian students tend to feel overwhelmed by the lively and active classroom discussion with their peers or their professors. And the loudest talkers are not necessarily the smartest in the room. This is indeed frustrating situation for many Asians. Last but not least, let's jump to our conclusions. First, culture will always link to education, which also possible to affect people who are biologically alike but grow up socially different because of the cultural experiences. Second, schools with individualist perspectives are those focusing on creativity, problem solving, and knowledge application skills. Number three, schools with collectivist perspectives are those focusing on memorization and other thought styles of learning, whereas criticism, discussions, and tangible questions are discouraged. And the last, teachers in an individualist perspective are managing the school environment in a direct manner, meanwhile the teacher in collectivist perspective do render the primary role in the management of the school. That is all from me today. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you can learn new things from my presentation. Toodles, everyone!